Hi guys, Jay Smith here, welcome to the AskGolfNut channel. So we're going to do a old v new compare today, and it's going to be G425 against the G430. Now I have got the AFS heads, the Advanced Fitting System heads from Ping. Why? Is till I can control everything as best I possibly can do. Now there's give or take 1 degree of loft difference between these, and I'm going to keep the loft as close as I can, but also this, the shaft, identical. So there's going to be no difference when it comes to how everything performs based on the shaft. So when it comes to these, all the technology and stuff that I've got individual full reviews of the G425 Iron. Again, when it comes to doing the test on that, I'll put the card up on the corner, and then also no different to the G430 Iron as well. I've got a full review with all the tech and stuff like that. So it's not going to go too much into the tech because no point. We need to see if these are any different, how much better they are. Now, Ping are saying there's a certain difference in distance in the G430 over the G425. Now that would be interesting to see if that's free distance or it comes with a price. I'm going to be doing this at a slightly slower swing speed, so there's no point in me swinging at my normal 92, 93 miles an hour, because for the golfers that this is targeted towards, the G range, generally speaking, they don't swing that fast. So I'm going to try and keep my swing speed around the mid 80s as best I can do. Anything lower, and it takes me a little while to get my sequence going. But, right, let's go G425 first. Let's go pop it into the shaft. Let's go get everything set up, and let's go see how this G425 feels, looks, and performs. So back now with the G425 Iron in the Project X 6.0 shaft, and again I will be using the Project X 6.0 shaft in both the tests to try and keep everything as exact as possible. Now if you like this kind of content guys, just spend a second there, just go down there, subscribe, it's great for the channel. If you could do that, that'd be brilliant. But G425, now when it comes to the main differences between G425 and G430, it's going to be in what they're saying it produces. Now they're saying that G430 is fractionally longer than the G425. Now, okay, the G425 is a 30.5 degree head against the 29 degree loft of the G430. So it will be interesting when we hit these to see if there's a big difference when it comes to distance, or is there any difference when it comes to distance. And if so, if there is a gain with G430 over G425, if it comes in the form of free distance or compromise distance. What I call compromise distance is if you don't change the head whatsoever and you just reduce the loft, what you'll find is the launch angle will go lower, the peak height will go slightly lower, descent angle will go slightly shallower. It may go longer, but it will come at a price the other end. If you get all the other dynamics exactly the same, launch angle, peak heights, descent angles, but you hit it further, that's free distance. So it'll be interesting to see, if any, what distance difference there is between them. So, right, looks and feel difference. So let's go by looks alone. When it comes to the G425 and G430, you've got decent thick top lines on it, you've got decent thick soles. Blade length isn't massive if you compare that to the old G700 series that they had, but still decent size. But it's a game improvement iron. So real estate behind the golf ball is exactly what you really want to see. An offset, to be fair, considering it's a game improvement iron, isn't that garishly massive. Fractionally left, that's my fault. Well, there you go. Now 86.7 miles an hour, that's my, I just saw that on quad down there. Got to be careful of my speed. Slightly heavy strike, just 4 mil high. It's not very high whatsoever, it's fine. Decent delivery, but yeah, just a fraction heavy. But it's going 176, spinning at 4.2. That's because of the slightly high strike. Now that's 4 mil high, that's not a lot, but golf clubs are very sensitive to vertical strike, especially in the high, and you will get, regards, doesn't matter what it is with the G425 or G430, with the centre of gravity being as low as it is on this to try and encourage launch, if you do fractionally hit it high, just a fraction can make a huge difference to its spin profile, and what we mean by spin profile, distance as well. Lower strike this time, slightly toey. Trying to keep speed under control. It's difficult sometimes to get the sequencing right when you're purposely trying to slow your swing down. Decent delivery, as there you go, you can see the slight difference in 10 mil toe, 7 mil low, and spin has gone back up to 5,500. Yeah, so that's a much more usable, normal amount of spin. Peak height is fractionally low at 30 yards, well, definitely fractionally lower than I'm used to, because then if I was to go faster, I would get much more height anyway. But descent angle still at 45 degrees considering. That is not the best strike in the world. Now, I will be doing performance differences and also forgiveness differences between these two, because really that's what we're looking at between these, if any. If there's any difference when it comes to the performance. Again, swing speed's just a fraction too fast, so I want to try and keep that under control if I can. So yeah, decent delivery there. Again, strike was not bad whatsoever. It's just a little bit quick, 87.8 miles an hour. But it's going 33 yards in the air, 46 degrees descent angle. Really very, very good. And so I'm going to be whacking this all over the face, both the 430 and the 425, to try and test the difference when it comes to forgiveness alone. Now, we'll have to wait and hit the 430 to see if there's much difference in distance between the two. But feeling wise, you can distinctly feel that this is a cast golf club. Absolutely you can. It is a higher pitch, crackier, crisper feel. Now, there's some people that don't care a jot about sound, and for the people who don't care a jot about sound, then it doesn't make no difference whatsoever. There are some people that sound makes a lot of difference, and the noise an iron makes, or a driver makes, or anything makes, will make a difference to their selection of what they prefer, one or the other. But I'll be honest guys, this feels fine. The G425 was slightly better than the G410. Ping have tried as time's gone on to try and control the acoustics, because they realise that a lot of people don't care about acoustics, but there are some people that do care about acoustics, and for the people that care about acoustics, why would you completely alienate one side of the market based on a simple thing of sound? So last one, because again, these look, feel and perform exactly how you'd expect. Slightly turn that one, that's my fault, not the golf club's, toey as well. That'd be interesting. 87.9, do I have to control that? You can see there, sort of 11mm toe, 5mm low, decent vertical, just fractionally toey. And when it comes to something called gear effect, we won't go into too much what gear effect is, but when you hit away from the middle, when you hit either toe or heel, there will be a certain amount of tilt axis applied to the golf ball. That's either wanted or unwanted curvature in the air. And normally if you had a blade, you'd get very, very little tilt axis whatsoever, because the center of gravity of the head is very, very close to the face. But in something like this, a game improvement iron, where everything is drawn back, no different to a driver, you will start to see a little bit of gear effect when you don't hit the middle. But 33 yards in the air, 47 degrees descent angle is doing exactly what the old G425 has always done very, very well. Let's go flick over to the G430 now and go see how much difference the new kid on the block makes a difference or not. Okay, so now flick over the G430 from the G425, and the G430 does look a distinctly different beast to that of the G425. You've still got the unmistakable framing of Ping, definitely, but you have got this carbon thing staring at the back, the pore flex, and when you press it, there is a certain amount of give that you can feel. There's kind of an elastic feeling to it, but it's got deep undercut cavities, no different to the G425, but they've got inverted cone tech and all this lot. They've had that for a while, but again, we're adding carbon now. Now, Ping do say that these feel slightly different, well, and they also say perform slightly different. We'll see that when it comes to doing the test a little bit now, and more so at the end, because we're just going to hit another bunch of shots when it comes to the G430, see if there's any feeling difference, any sound difference. We can also see already there's a slight differences in looks, but the forgiveness differences, that's what I really want to see, if there's much difference between them or not. That'll come at the end of the video. Right, top lines are medium to thick, sole thicknesses again, which are about medium to thick, no different to the G425. And I tell you what, when it comes to blade differences and the length of the blade, there's hardly anything in it, if literally anything. But let's go give this one a hit. Let's try and keep speed again under control as best we can do. Not always best and easiest to keep sequencing the same when you're slowing your swing down. Slightly turn that one with me trying to calm my speed down. 86.9. so slightly over closed and it's slightly toey as well. Going back to gear effect, if you look at that delivery there, my face was 0.5 closed, but toey, 14mm toe. So there is gear effect on that. So that ball should have drew slightly, definitely, but it's added some more tilt axis, added some more curvature because of the toey strike. Now, again, we won't go into the full depth for it, we've explained that one before, but you're going to get that on a game improvement iron. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, the fact that it's still gone 172 yards, and it's still gone 32 yards in the air and 46 degrees descent angle, it's performing really well, even from a 14mm toe. Now, speed there was 87, 86.9, just see it on quad down there, so I've still got a kind of calm speed down if I can. Again, that's toey hit, trying to calm the speed down, 86.5. Not easy to try and sequence your slowing everything down. Path slightly from the inside, face slightly open, but I mean, it's only missed 8 yards offline. I mean, you take that all day long, 24 feet from the pin at 171 yards from what I would perceive as a slight miss hit. But you can feel the difference. There is a slight lower pitch thud to this one, where you go 425 and 425 instantly is a higher pitch sound, a crisper, crackier hit. Now that's not saying it's good or bad, it's just slightly different. Trying to control speed a little bit. 87.2. Strike was pretty good, delivery was pretty good. It's just about trying to control speed, but you can definitely feel. Now again, that's sound, but you can definitely feel a difference when it comes to 430. Instantly 430 feels, for me, a nicer club to hit. I'm a blade player. I like the feeling, I like the sound of a duller, quieter golf club. So when it comes to something like this, I'll gravitate to 430 all day long. If you're someone who likes a little bit more of an explosive pop, 425 has got that one over the 430, and I can't really see, I'll be honest, I can't really see where this extra distance apparently is coming from. Now again, I'll try and marry the loft as best I can do as well, so we can't take that out of the equation. We can't just say, well, it's going further because it's a degree and a half stronger. If I can try and marry the lofts or identify within reason, get these lofts exactly the same, we can then see if it's face technology, or if it's longer, or it's not, or it's more forgiving. And I'm looking forward to the forgiveness side of things. That's left. It's me trying to slow the swing down on, wow. Yeah, closed face. What happens when you close a face? You take the loft off. 23.2 degrees, yeah, face is shut by 2, which means there's your carry. Your carry's jumped up to 178. Because my face is too shut. And as you close the face, you also take away loft, blah, blah, blah. So that was my fault, not the golf club's. And that extra carry was my fault. Definitely not much to do with the golf club. Although, yeah, better job this time, hopefully. Slow, slow speed. .84, there we go, that's a bit better. Distance is coming off now because of me slowing down, which is normal. Delivery pretty good. Loft 24 degrees, launching 19 degrees, which is not bad, and spinning at 5.3, so that's really good. Carry now has come down to 164. Not surprised whatsoever because my speed now is 84.5 on quad. Let's just sort it down here. Peaking up 31 yards in the air and still at 46 degrees descent angle. So even if I'm really dumbing down the speed for my feeling, yeah, it's performing. The G430 already, over the G425, it feels softer, it feels quieter, or it sounds quieter. When it comes to the looks, yes, there is differences between them. When it comes to performance, I'll be honest, in this very small test, again, I'm going to go and turn off the camera off now and go whack these a load of times, and also from interesting parts of the face, so we can see if there's actually a difference in distance between these two heads, but more importantly, if there's a difference in forgiveness between these two heads. So it's time. Let's go, turn the cameras off, get it back onto the range, and let's go whack, 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 heel toe, high, low, all those weird, wonderful spots, and see if there's a big difference, if any, between these two. So all the shots now hit with the 425 and 430. Let's go have a look at how they both perform. When it comes to average data sets and also some captured miss hits as well. Now I've actually managed to get this swing speed down even lower than on the testing, and I've managed to get it to sub 80 miles an hour. Remember, these are game improvement irons, guys. The 425 and 430 are targeted towards high handicappers, or at least people that need help and assistance getting the golf ball up in the air, getting some carry and getting some forgiveness. Now, generally speaking, that is a targeted towards the high handicapper. High handicappers generally, again, there's always exceptions to the rule, but generally do have a slightly slower swing speed. So I've tried to keep this at sub 80 miles an hour. So let's go do the performance differences between the 425 and 430 and also the forgiveness side of things as well. So 425 first, 109.3 miles an hour, that's average ball speed. Launching at 18.6 degrees, spinning at 4.5, which is fine, but that's speed orientated lower spin numbers. Peaking at 27 degrees, descending at 42.8 degrees, and carry is 1.57. Now obviously these are not the numbers that I'm normally used to seeing, because I'm normally used to seeing them going a little bit further than that, but we are talking about it's a good 13 or so miles an hour slower than what I'm normally used to swinging. Going straight over to the 430, we've got 109.4 miles an hour rather than 109.3. 0.1 in it, 18.3 degrees rather than 18.6, so it's 0.3 of a degree lower, but it's 0.3, which is next to nothing. Spinning at 4.7 rather than 4.5, so actually if you look at it, I think it's 140 RPM difference between the two irons. And guys, when you're looking at stand deviation running at 400, that's well within blurring, so they basically spin within reason exactly the same. Also going up at 27 yards in the air and descending at 42.8 degrees and carrying 1.57. So they're basically exactly the same, but they're not. So let's go have a look at the club head data and I will show you why. 425 7 iron first, 79.7 miles an hour, efficiency 1.37. Efficiency is a measure of bang for your buck. What club head speed you put into what ball speed you get out. Attack angle 3.8 degrees down, 2.2 from the inside, 0.10 face. So I've noticed as I slow my swing down, my path just tends to go more slightly from the inside than it normally does when I go full speed. And loft is 24.4 degrees, and strike is 1 mil hill, 1 mil low, and I've also got stand deviation numbers on all of the information so you can critique it at will if you wish. 430 next, we've got the 7 iron going 79.3 miles an hour rather than 79.7, so I'm actually swinging the 430 on average nearly half a mile an hour slower. We've got efficiency though at 1.38 rather than 1.37, so again, it's a measure of bang for your buck. It's a small difference, but there is a difference. We've got attack angle 3.7 degrees down, 1.8 from the inside, 0 face again, and loft 24.2. Now remember, when it comes to the static loft between these two irons, there is 1 degree. However, in the data set, I have managed to, within 0.2 of a degree, match the lofts, so we are talking apples for apples now. But the interesting thing is we've got the same performance, you could say, when it comes to peak heights, descent angles and raw distance, but on the 430 I've got that from a worse strike position, and it really shows it. If I go into the club compare screen, you can physically see it on the screen there. Now just look at the dispersion rings very quickly. You could argue that the red, the 430, is a little bit better front to back when it comes to north and south distance control, consistency, dispersion. So one could argue that potentially that the 430 is slightly more forgiving when it comes to its consistency of hitting that distance. But you can see also by the club side of it that you've got all that information there. You've got all the same as the 425 and slightly better north to south distance control dispersion, based on a worse strike. So, and I've captured some information right at the very end to sort of showcase middle for middle what they both do when it comes to just raw performance. But I'm encouraged at just how good the 430 does, considering it's based on a worse strike, and even with that worse strike, it's still slightly better north to south. It's marginal, but it's in there. Right, so let's go to the forgiveness side, where we have a look at how the 425 and 430 get on when you miss-hit it. So we've got heel strikes first. So the G425, 81 miles an hour, so it's slightly too fast, but it doesn't matter. We'll go by efficiency rather than speed. 3.3 from the inside, 1.2 closed. Again, yeah, has me going a little bit too from the inside when I start slowing my swing down. But effectively, look, we're looking at 11 mil heel, 2 mil high. So 11 mil heel. We'll try and keep the lofts exactly the same as best as possible. We're trying to measure efficiency as its drop off. But 25 degrees, 25.1 degrees and 11 mil heel. If you go to the 430, slightly slower swing speed, doesn't matter. We're looking at efficiency, and efficiency slightly better at 1.36. Over 1.35. That also comes from a face slightly open rather than closed. So generally speaking, when you have a face which is closed, you get a bit more of an efficient hit. Where we've got 25.9 degrees of loft delivered on the 430, so nearly a degree more than the 425, and it's 10 mil heel, 1 mil low, so within a mil or so difference. It's not much, yeah, not much whatsoever. So arguably the 430 is fractionally more forgiving from heel strikes. If we go to low strike now on the 425, we've got an exact carbon copy of the delivery, 3.3 from the inside, 1.2 close I did with the 425 heel. 22 degrees aloft, and we've got 10 mil low. So it's just a low hit. If you go over to the 430, it's 1.31 efficiency, so well, a little bit less, so 0.03 of an efficiency less. However, if you look at the face is not quite as closed, loft is 2 degrees more, and the strike is actually worse by some margin. We're looking at 10 millimeters gross against 16 millimeters gross when it comes to 430. So again, arguably you would say if you would try and match these like for like, the 430 is easily as forgiving as the 425, if not, again, arguably from that amount of worse, slightly better than the 425 when it comes to miss hits. Guys, it's not huge amounts. We're not talking like monumentous jumps. Well, no manufacturer does monumentous jumps anymore, but we are talking about a slight change in performance, slight better performance. So 425 toe strike, we've got 80 miles an hour, 1.37 efficiency, which is very, very good. But again, the 425 was really always very, very good off toe strikes. 2.8 from the inside, 2.2 close, so 3.3 degrees, 23.3 degrees, sorry, of dynamic loft. We are talking about this is quite little. This is a distinct draw shape, so face close is going to give you slightly more efficiency. If you then go to a similar strike, although slightly worse, 19 mil gross off 20 mil gross, or 1 mil, no different, but it's 18 mil toe. Face isn't as closed by 1.7 degrees, so it's a much more of a normal hit, and also delivering just over a degree more loft, which would normally take efficiency down. And you've got an efficiency of 1.36. So if you take the face on a 430 delivery, which wasn't quite as closed, if you take that the loft was slightly higher than the 425 as well, which also increased deflection or lower efficiency, and the strike was fractionally worse as well, you would definitely say that the 430 is definitely as good as the 425 and arguably a fraction better. Now, what we're talking about very, very quickly before we get into the last two shots where I've actually captured both from in the middle to show the difference. What you're seeing is that there is a marginal difference in performance between the 430 and 425 in raw performance, yes, and also forgiveness performance, yes. Is it going to make or break your round? No. If you're going from a 425, would you race out straight away and buy a set of 430s? No. If you're coming from a much older golf club, the 430 is more forgiving and does hit it better out of, or more performance out the middle than a 425, but it is still marginal. Right, let's go to the last two where I basically captured within reason like for like hits. Now, let's go 425 first, 81 miles an hour, efficiency 1.38. Path is 0.8 from the inside, and face is 0.00 to it. Loft is 24 degrees. 2 mil low, bang on, no mil toe. It's within 2 mil perfect. And at 1.38 efficiency, carrying 160 for that speed is very, very good. If you then go over to the 430, 2.6 from the inside, 0.2 close within 0.2 degree, exactly the same as the 425. Speed is slightly less, 80.5 miles an hour rather than 81, but efficiency is 1.4 rather than 1.38, and that is from a 2 mil off gross off center as well, so like for like on there. When you look at the loft is 0.8 of a degree difference, and it's going 162 2 yards more from half a mile an hour slower. So you can just see there the difference. It is small, yes it is. I don't personally see the 5 to 7 yards gain when it comes to the 430 in this test, although remember this on the final note, when it comes to this performance gain of the 430 over 425, I'm doing this at a much slower swing speed. And so if a manufacturer does make a change when it comes to its performance between model to model to model, it will be small, but there'll be a measured difference. Now that measured difference, let's say it's 4%. One model is 4% better than the previous model. Now that percentage, if you're saying about ball speed, let's say, if you're swinging at 100 miles an hour, you get 104 miles an hour. So that 4 miles an hour will equate to a certain amount of yards. And then if you don't swing very fast and your ball speed's only 80 miles an hour, that 4% is now of a small amount. If you swing really, really fast and your ball speed is 120 miles an hour, you're going to get a 5 miles an hour for that 4% jump. So you can see what I mean. So with these percentage increases, these yardage increases based on the understanding of speed. And so the slower you swing, the less of the gain that you will see. And so if I was to swing this at my normal speed, I would distinctly see a bigger gain between 425 and 430. So as a conclusion, when it comes to 425, 430, when it comes to looks, that's up to you. There are distinct different looks between the 430 and the 425 this year. When it comes to feel, I would say marginally for me, because I prefer a slightly quieter, acoustically lower pitch noise, 430 wins for my ears. But if you like a little bit more of a confidence-inspiring whack or a crack, go for 425. And if you don't care about acoustics whatsoever, have which one you want. But when it comes to performance, I would say marginally 430, yes, definitely, and depending on how fast you swing, you'll either see a greater or a lesser amount of performance gain over the 425. When it comes to forgiveness, yes, the 430 is fractionally more forgiving than 425, but remember guys, when it comes to manufacturers, they are pushing that needle bit by bit by bit every single year, and well, every single year, not with Ping, because obviously they run give or take 18 month to 2 year life cycles, so they have time to make sure that their new creation is actually slightly better than the old. So hope you liked the video guys. If you did, go on, thumbs up. YouTube likes it, so do I. Go down there, little red button, subscribe button. It's great for the channel if you could do that, so brilliant, thank you. And next to it is a bell icon. That's notification bell. If you click that one, that will notify you next time I upload another video. Hope you're well, and we'll see you again soon.